Pacino, Robert De Niro, Val Kilmer in a Michael Mann film.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Let's Talk. I'm John, and today we're going to be talking about the 1995 crime, action, thriller, drama, Heat. And we're also going to be talking about its brand new 4K Blu-ray release that just came out. But if you're here for the digital code giveaway, we're going to be revealing our winners at the very end of this video, so if you want to skip ahead to that, feel free. But before we dive into my review of Heat in its 4K, if you are a fan of 4K Blu-ray reviews, movie reviews, TV reviews, video game reviews, tech reviews, we try and do them all here on this channel, and nothing helps out more than by liking this video and subscribing to the channel. So Heat was released on December 15th, 1995, and is directed by Michael Mann and stars Al Pacino, Robert De Niro, Val Kilmer, Tom Sizemore, Ashley Judd, Amy Brenneman, Natalie Portman, Tone Loc, Henry Rollins, Jeremy Piven. Every role in this movie is filled by an actor's name who you will immediately recognize. And this movie is also one of the most influential action movies of all time, one of the most influential movies of all time, and it's one of the most popular movies of the 1990s. This came out in 1995, the same year as Casino and Seven, which were also very much influential films. Casino also starred Robert De Niro, so what a year for Robert De Niro. But Val Kilmer was also Batman in 1995, so what a year for Val Kilmer. But I believe for both of them, this is the movie that stands out in the crowd. Heat is one of those movies that gets better with time, especially with The Dark Knight, which took a lot of inspirations from Heat. So more people might have seen The Dark Knight, but if you watch Heat, you could totally see the inspirations that Heat had in The Dark Knight, right down to its score, the way it's filmed. The bank robbery scene in the beginning is very influenced by one of the most famous bank robbery scenes of all time, which is in this movie. I would say that the audio of this is probably what has influenced the most films, because the way they did this was incredible. It's one of the most famous scenes of all time. It still holds up today because I just rewatched this movie for this review, and my god, I still love Heat so much. Everybody is doing such a great job in this movie, but it's carried by Robert De Niro and Al Pacino. This movie was also famous for them being on screen together for the first time. Yes, they were in the same film in 1974 with The Godfather Part 2, but because of the different timelines that they were playing, Robert De Niro and Al Pacino never did appear on screen in that movie. They were just in the same film. But in this movie, the diner scene, when these two are on camera together, just giving each other lines of dialogue back and forth, actually gave me goosebumps the first time I saw it. It still gives me chills to this day, but it doesn't have that same feeling the first time I saw it, because it was such a big deal to see them on screen together. And I didn't see this obviously until years later, but even for me, knowing how big Robert De Niro and Al Pacino are and how big they were basically at the same time, their rise and their acting careers really much are lined up right next to each other, and they both are just coming out swinging in this movie, even though their characters are very different. Because this movie, its plot is actually pretty simple. It's really just cops chasing bad guys, if you want to really break it down to a very primitive form of the film. But really it's about Neil McCauley's Robert De Niro is a bank robber on one side, or just a robber on one side. He's the leader of the bad guys, essentially. But he's really good. He's very committed. He's the best at what he does. This is his job. He takes it very seriously. No detail is not paid attention to. He has a plan, and you're going to follow that plan if you're going to be in his crew. Now, Al Pacino's Vincent Hanna, he's the leader of the police. This is what he does, and he is really good at his job, to the point that his job actually causes his marriages to fall apart. He is on his third marriage right now. He has a stepdaughter played by Natalie Portman, but all he's ever been good at is his job. He is not a family man. He puts his job first above anything. Essentially, his family has to share time with him with his job. His job is always going to go before anything. He always gets his man. He is one of the best. He's put many crews behind bars, and Robert De Niro he sees as no different, even though Robert De Niro and Al Pacino mutually respect each other and what each other does, because really, without that cat and mouse game that they're playing, what is the point? They actually see it as almost a competition for each other, and they want to see who the better man is. And that's really what this movie boils down to, right up all the way to the ending. Who is going to come out on top? All the actors in their respective crews do a great job too carrying this. I wouldn't even say this is a dialogue-driven film, even though there are some great scenes of dialogue, and Al Pacino's lines are extremely memorable because he plays his role so over the top in this movie.
Don't waste my motherfucking time! Because she got a great ass!
And I'm going to be completely honest, there are times that his role seems like it's in a different movie than what everybody else is playing. This movie is very much a very reserved, dialogue-driven movie. Anyone who's delivering their lines kind of feels like they're not trying to overact, but then Al Pacino is very much trying to overact in this movie, so his performance definitely stands out in the crowd. But it's also very much a memorable performance, which really says a lot about the role that he was playing. Because even though it's not directly said in this movie, it has been said, and Al Pacino has said in interviews too, that this character is high on cocaine, has an addiction to cocaine, and that explains his erratic behavior throughout the movie. Hence, like, in the scene where he takes the TV and he takes it with him, and he throws it out of the car, just right in the middle of LA, in the middle of a street. So you could just see that, like, the way he's talking, the way he's delivering lines make perfect sense for what the character that he believed he was playing, even if it's not illustrated to you on screen. And for Michael Mann, this actually wasn't his first shot at the script. He actually wrote this script originally in the 70s before he even made his directorial debut. But this film actually was a TV movie in 1989 called LA Takedown. That was the first time he used the script. It got the big screen treatment in 1995. And this is a movie that is definitely made for the big screen, or to be seen on the biggest screen possible, because the audio is so amazing in that bank robbery scene. And anytime guns are used, they were going to do it in post. They were going to edit the noise of the guns in post, but they used blanks on set, and actually Michael Mann found that that sound was better. And I completely agree, because I have never heard gunshots sound like that since this. I think this is actually still one of the best uses of gunshot audio that you'll ever see on film. That scene is amazing. What they were trying to go for was a realistic approach to this, and they nailed that. This feels very much like a crime movie, something that could really happen, and it's based on a true story, or at least true stories of this, because the Neil McCauley character is based on a real life bank robbery. This bank robbery really did happen. Not to the extent that I'm sure we're seeing on film, because it's obviously not relevant as far as time goes, because this very much takes place in 1995, but it still has that feeling like this could really happen. It's so mapped out, the suits and everything. I think that this is the best bank robbery scene you've ever seen on screen. I think The Dark Knight did a great job with it as well, but it's clearly influenced this and paying homage to this. We've also seen this be influenced in such video games as Grand Theft Auto 4 and 5. They both have taken so much influences from Heat and everything that Heat did. Heat has been an influential film since 1995. It is one of the most important films that was ever made. I'm a huge fan of it. It's not my favorite of Michael Mann's films personally. I think Collateral and Manhunter are better films that I get more enjoyment of. But I do think that this is definitely his best made film. It's just such an impressive film. This is almost 3 hours long. It's still enjoyable throughout from beginning to end. You're going to have a great time watching it. You're never bored. Well acted, well shot. It should have won all the technical awards for this movie, because that is really what has stood the test of time. Yes, the acting is good. Al Pacino and Robert De Niro are good. So from a film point, I could definitely recommend Heat. If you haven't seen Heat, please run out and grab Heat. But I'm going to tell you which version of Heat you should grab. So Disney had acquired the rights of the 4K scan that was done by 20th Century Fox at the time. So 20th Century Fox did this, Aliens, and Fight Club. The 4K scans were already completely done. All they had to do was print them on discs and put them out. Now, what's strange about this disc in particular is that it was actually supposed to come out about a year ago, and then it kept getting delayed. It was supposed to come out again earlier this year, and it got delayed again, and nobody could really understand why. So what we were able to find is that this is the exact same scan that was on the previous release, which was just a 1080 Blu-ray, which is right here. So this 1080p Blu-ray was actually put out by Warner Brothers, and the scan was still done by 20th Century Fox. Their logo is on the back of this, even though it's distributed by Warner Brothers. 20th Century Fox did the actual scan of it, and it's a 4K scan, and I'm pretty sure that that is the exact same scan that is on this release. All they did to this was put a warm, darker filter over what was already previously released. The audio is exactly the same, so if you have this previous release like I do right here, it has a DTS HD 5.1 on it. There is no Dolby Atmos track on this. There is no Dolby Vision on this. And both of those things are extremely disappointing for 2022 4K Blu-ray releases. Especially something that's as important as Heat. Heat is one of the most influential movies of all time, like I said. And its audio in general is one of the most influential things of all time. The fact that there is no Dolby Atmos track on this, and that they're just releasing the same audio that is on the previous release of the Blu-ray, given that it is a good audio track, don't get me wrong, but I feel like if you're going to take the time and release a brand new 4K release of this, you should at least try and upgrade the audio and put a Dolby Atmos track on there, because that's what most people are going to be looking for when they go to upgrade to something like this from their previous Blu-ray. And then the visuals. So I've heard that the visuals are a little too dark in comparison to the Blu-ray that was previously released. And I completely agree. It is much too dark. They put like a warm dark filter over this. So the previous release, it kind of looked blue, and it was still a dark film. Don't get me wrong, this film is designed to be dark in general, is how the film is supposed to look. The night scenes are supposed to look dark, and the day scenes, a lot of them are filmed kind of like either during sunrise or sunset, and the scenes that are shot like in the day, like it might be cloudy out, so there are some shots in pure sunlight, but they're always dark anyway. So that isn't the 4K Blu-ray's fault. The way the film is shot in general is a bit of a darker tone. Now the thing is that the original Blu-ray cut of this film, the 1080 Blu-ray, which is the same scan, had a cooler filter on it. Now that made it look more blue, I would say, and less yellow, whereas this one looks more yellow over the blue, and it just comes off very odd dark, especially in certain scenes. It's very hard to see. I took some screenshots of it, but I really don't feel like it does justice to how dark this 4K looks in comparison to the old Blu-ray. And I tested this out on two TVs. I tested this out on my Sony 950H and on my LG C1 to see what it would look better on, and I would say both versions compared exactly the same on both TVs, where it just looked darker on the 4K. The yellow filter is pretty noticeable. That warmer filter, I actually thought that the 4K also looked a little bit grainier, which actually is good because the resolution on the 4K is definitely noticeably better than on the 1080p Blu-ray, but I don't think that hike in resolution is enough to really show what the HDR should have done. The Dolby Vision, I think, would have really helped this. The HDR, I don't think is helping this at all. It really should give you more of a contrast between the colors and the blacks, and it really didn't do that. It just felt like this, it just kind of moved the film to a more of a darker tone. And then this filter that they put over it really just doesn't help the movie at all. Honestly, I watched this last night, and I'm never going to watch this version of the film again. I'm going to go right back to just watching my original Blu-ray of this. I bought the film. I'm going to keep the film. We bought two versions of this film. Matt actually bought the film too. He's going to return his version of this film because this Blu-ray version is a much better product in comparison to the 4K as far as the film looking visually, and because it has the exact same audio, there really is no reason to keep this 4K unless you really want that steelbook or you want this slipcover, which I'll admit is nice, but this isn't my favorite design of the box art. They kind of just went like in a black and white design. I don't really like it. It's pretty simple. I actually would have preferred the steelbook if you're going to buy this. And then the extras. The extras are the exact same that are on this that they were on this previous Blu-ray release. Right down to the point that I actually was testing out the bonus discs on my Xbox while I was in my office, and I put the bonus discs in for both. And when I put the bonus disc in for the Blu-ray after trying out the 4K Blu-ray bonus disc, it's the exact same disc. It actually asked me to resume playback on the bonus disc. So that's actually pretty insane that there is no different. They just literally popped in the exact same disc. They didn't even take the time. If you look at this, look how much better the discs look on the previous version compared to the new version. They just put a light blue, very simple Blu-ray logo disc over and just wrote heat on it in regular white font. They put no effort into making this Blu-ray disc or 4K Blu-ray disc look nicer. Now, given the 4K Blu-ray disc itself is pretty nice, but that's the only thing. So basically what Disney did is they took the original Blu-ray cut of this film, took the bonus discs and everything, and just put those two discs that you have, if you have this version of it, they just took that version, put those two discs, repackaged them, resealed them, and put them in this, and then took the 4K disc and just put a new filter over the original film, and then they released that with an updated resolution with the HDR, and they just threw it out there. And it is a much worse version than the previous release of this, in my opinion. Now, you might like the darker tone to this, and you might like that warmer feeling, but I don't think that warmer feeling and darker tone fits well with what this film was originally supposed to be. I am not too sure why this decision was made. It really feels like Disney, again, putting out a poor 4K Blu-ray release. It literally says on the front of this collector's edition. And as a collector, I really feel like this was the cheapest way to go every which way possible. The disc, the design, the audio, it's all just cheap, and it just all feels like they just threw it out there to try and get a quick cash grab because they were just sitting on this scan that came with 20th Century when they bought, and they just said, hey, you know what, we can get some money for this. Our 4K changes aren't coming out the way we thought. We might as well just dump it out there and someone will buy it. And that's exactly what happened to me. I bought this and I am very disappointed that I did. It's not the worst 4K you'll ever see. It's just the fact that it doesn't offer much of an upgrade over the previous release. They really just threw it out there to try and get people to buy it. They couldn't even like give you anything nicer, anything newer, some new interviews, nothing. It's all exactly the same. So if you have the previous release of this, I can promise you that that version is more than enough to satisfy you. I hope down the line, maybe, I doubt it'll ever happen because Disney has the rights to this, that we get like a Kino Lorber or a Criterion Arrow Video kind of release of this where they really pull out all the bells and whistles and sit down with Michael Mann and have them go over everything that he visualized for the film and have that perfect, real collector's edition that we deserve as a collecting community, as a 4K Blu-ray collecting community, people who put their hard-earned money into buying these discs. I think we definitely do deserve that, and I'm hoping down the line we get that. But this version is definitely not it. Unfortunately, this is probably one of the most disappointed versions of a 4K Blu-ray I have ever been in. The Terminator 2 Blu-ray might be a worse Blu-ray, but this is more of a disappointment because it feels like very little to no effort was put into it. So overall, I'm going to have to give this a 5 out of 10 overall as a package because it's still a great film. Like I said, it's one of the most influential, one of the best films ever shot, and I can recommend the film so highly. It's just a shame that the 4K Blu-ray release is so disappointing. So I'm going to shoot it right down the middle and say, yeah, it's a good film, but if you can get a previous version of this like I have on Blu-ray, definitely grab that. It'll probably save you some money. But let's dive into the digital code giveaway if that's what you guys are here for. Hey everyone, thanks for sticking around to the end of the video for this week's Monday digital code giveaway. Today's the day where we spin the magic wheel for everybody who entered into our digital code giveaway. That means everyone who answered the questions in Friday's video. Today you guys get the chance to win a digital code. And today we're going to have 2 winners. We're probably going to do that again this Friday, so we're going to do a couple weeks of 2 winners. And I asked you guys, what was your favorite sci-fi movie of all time and what was your favorite sci-fi character of all time? I got a lot of great answers for both. Ripley came up a lot. Obviously she's one of the all-time classic sci-fi characters. Had Predator come up. A lot of great choices as far as movies too. I saw Ex Machina, I saw Gattaca, which was really cool, and the person who liked Gattaca, I believe his name was Joe, me and him came to Gattaca the exact same way, where we both saw it for the first time in biology class, so I guess that's in the curriculum nowadays, or it was at the time. It was just so awesome to talk to you guys about sci-fi. Sci-fi, I usually either say sci-fi or drama are my favorite genres, but I've always been a big sci-fi guy my entire life, so it was really cool to talk sci-fi with you guys all weekend. You know, I hope you guys enjoyed really chatting with me about it or chat with Matt about sci-fi, because we'll talk sci-fi all day. We really need like a podcast or something, because we'll just keep talking and talking movies. That's all we do, even when we're not filming, is we just talk movies. It's our thing. But anyway, I know why you guys are here. You're here to see who this week's 2 digital code giveaway winners are going to be. So without further ado, let's spin my magic wheel and find out who those 2 lucky people are going to be. Alright, first wheel spin coming now. Dylan Flickinger. Alright, Dylan, we gotta remove your name so you're not in the second wheel spin. Now let's see who wins the second code. And Brian. Congratulations, Brian. You guys know the rules. Brian actually has won before, so Brian, you know what to do. And Dylan, this is how it works. You either direct message us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, or you can always email us at letstalkentmt@gmail.com, and we will send you your choice of a digital code. And if we don't have that digital code, we'll make sure to let you know so you can pick something else. We actually had an issue last week where last week's winner, the digital code, said that it was already redeemed. So guys, if you are new to this, we do this digital code giveaway every single week, so make sure you come back to this Friday's video, which I believe is going to be a Turbo Kid review, which is a recommendation from one of our subscribers, Tony O, who's been telling me for months that I have to watch this movie, and me and Dennis both sat down, watched it, and did a review for it. So Tony, look for that video this Friday. We did that for you. And that's another thing, guys. Anytime you guys want us to do some reviews for the channel that you guys want to see us do, we'll eventually get around to them. We just got around the Turbo Kid. In the next couple weeks, I'm going to be doing Mishima Life in 4 Chapters, which is another recommendation from one of our subscribers. So anything you guys want to see us review, that you haven't seen a review of, please leave that comment in the comment section below, and we'll try and get around to it. We'll add it to the list. No promises it'll be anytime soon, but we'll add it to the list of videos that we have to make, and we'll get around to it. That's what this is all about, guys. It's about building a community, about making sure that everyone who loves movies, video games, tech, that we all can come together here and just chat about it. And feel free to give your opinions without having to be judged. And that's what this channel is all about. And guys, we thank you so much for all your support. We're growing at a pretty good rate right now, and it's really all because of you. Thank you guys so much. It really does mean the world to us. Me, Matt, and Dennis, we really appreciate every single one of you. Everybody who's liked, shared our videos. It really does help us out so much. You really don't understand. It really means so much to us. Thank you guys so much. And as always, guys, please make sure you like, share, and subscribe, and tell all your friends.